Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the National Hockey Now Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now. Thursday, June 8th, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, Kevin Beach with you, ready to break down Game 3 NHL Stanley Cup Final with Vegas now going to Florida with a 2-0 series lead. We'll break that down in just a moment. But first, we have to acknowledge and recognize the birthday boy, Alex B. Smith, 34 years old. You're getting better with age, as I like to say. At least I always keep telling myself that when I get a year older, even though I don't always feel that way. But Alex, happy birthday. It's been a pleasure to know you and call you friend and colleague and co-worker and really co-founder, if you will, of the Ice Guys here many, many years ago. And happy birthday, and to many more to you, Alex.
Thank you so much, Ian. Yeah, it's crazy. I know, like, we've known each other and been working together for a decade now at this point. And it's so funny. It's been a hell of a decade. I get to tell you that.
A lot of ups and downs, a lot of changes.
Yes, from 24 to 34 has been an interesting journey.
But we're still here.
Still here and kicking, and that's the important part. But thanks to everybody. I've gotten some great messages and kind words and calls and emails and texts and DMs already. So thanks to everybody and everybody in the chat wishing me a happy birthday. I appreciate it. It's fun, and what better way to celebrate a birthday than having some Stanley Cup hockey action at the end of the night. So it should be a good one. Should be a fun day.
Yeah, what I love about the friendship I have with Alex is we've been basically co-workers the whole time through the Ice Guys show. And let me just put it this way: we've been kicked off a lot of fucking networks and platforms to get to this point. But we're still here,
for sure.
We're still going. You can't get rid of us, all right? Whether you want to or not, you're stuck with us. You can't get rid of us. We only get stronger as the years go on, or so we hope to believe. Kevin, welcome back. Nice to have you with us twice this week. Kevin Beach being able to join us. And again, we were all on the show Monday when we did the interview with the great longtime play-by-play broadcaster Paul Romanuk. And I implore you to watch that interview or download the podcast of that interview if you haven't seen or listened to it already. It is worth it. It was absolutely terrific. Kevin, how are things with you?
Awesome. Yeah, that interview with Paul was unreal. A lot of great insight. You get a lot of. I think, like, we've talked to a lot of players, or you've talked to a lot of players, but to have an actual play-by-play guy who's been involved in so many big games was quite a treat. And Alex, great to spend your birthday with you. So happy birthday, man, and ready to go here for Game 3.
Yeah, there we go. There's the birthday messages. I'm going to flash up a couple of them. Trisha, our guy Occupancy, all wishing Alex happy birthday. Real Deal Prime as well. Bet the no.
It'll probably be the same.
Yeah, it might be, you never know. Miracles do happen every now and then. Right about that.
That's funny. That's
good stuff. I mean, yes, absolutely. Happy birthday to Alex and many more. We appreciate that. Barry as well. There we go. Barry Adelson. Happy birthday, Alex. We'll celebrate with a thumping by Bennett tonight. Obviously referring to Sam Bennett here for the Florida Panthers. So good stuff indeed. Before we get into Game 3 specifically, just a couple news and notes in terms of some NHL stuff that's happened here the last couple of days. We have seen some interesting news. Some interesting broadcasting news, man. Darren Pang going to Chicago now and becoming part of the Blackhawks broadcast. Will be with Chris Foster's next year. It's going to be it's actually good to see him going there because he played his career with the Black. It was only 3 years with Chicago in a backup role, but it's the only team he played for in his NHL career. And let's be honest, money did play a factor. For as nice a guy as Darren Pang is, money always does play a factor in shit. Of course, the PGA Live crap this week is Exhibit A for that. But yeah, there's issues with the company that runs the St. Louis Blues regional television network, Bally. We know they've had all kinds of issues, with flirting with bankruptcy, and it's because of that. It's hard to pay top dollar for great broadcasting talent for their properties, and That was part of the decision. But again, to go back to Chicago for Darren Pang. So that was some big news. But there's also big news for Chicago in terms of one of their former players, Alex DeBrincat. Heavy trade talks going on with him. Heavy trade talks involving Carter Hart as well, or as some of the Boston people. I know I always laugh my ass off when I hear Rear Admiral on the Spit and Chicklets podcast pronounce Carter Hart. Here for the Philadelphia Flyers is on the trade block. And of course, that's a great segue into what Philly did earlier this week, because we haven't even mentioned it yet on the show, the three-way trade that took place with Philly, Columbus, and LA. Ivan Provorov obviously being sent away. And in return, Philly got a huge haul back in that three-way deal. I was very impressed. They got a bunch of draft picks. They got a couple of really, really high upside prospects in the deal as well. I thought Danny Briere just did an outstanding job. This was really the first major transaction that Danny Briere has made since becoming the permanent GM, full-time GM. He was the interim last year. I was very impressed with what he was able to get in return. For a defenseman that, didn't have his best season for Philadelphia last year, Ivan Provorov, but he's still going to be, I think, a good defenseman. One of those deals where I think change of scenery is going to be great for him. You watch, he'll probably play very well now that he's out of Philadelphia. But what the Flyers got back in return for him was exceptional as well. So I was very impressed with the deal that the Philadelphia Flyers made there, Alex. And I'll tell you what, for the first, I guess, business conducted as far as trades or signings or whatever for the Keith Jones president / Danny Briere GM front office pair, if you will, for the Flyers, I say thumbs up. A really nice deal for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact that Cal Peterson getting moved. That was the biggest thing that caught my eye in this trade. He needed to change the scenery. Obviously, LA had to shed that big of a contract. You can't keep that in Ontario in the AHL. So you have to move him. And I think that's a great landing spot for him. And now, like I said, with Carter Hart potentially being on the move now, I mean, I'm reading reports talking about they want 2 first-round picks for him. That's kind of funny. I don't think they're going to get that from anybody. But I
didn't think Danny was going to get what he got in that deal, though. So never know with this guy.
You never know. You never know.
Master negotiator here.
And that's gonna, he's gonna have to be really good, and he's gonna have to throw in a couple other pieces in with that too to make that happen. But I like what they're doing so far, and like I said, this is the first domino falling. We talked about this. I mentioned this as early as January about how we're gonna see a lot of goaltenders move around, and I think that's gonna really kind of change the landscape of a lot of these middling teams, a lot of teams that got bounced early in the playoffs, a lot of teams that just missed the playoffs. We're gonna see a lot of moving around in net, and I think that's gonna really make an impact next season.
No doubt. As far as Carter Hart goes and Cal Peterson, Carter Hart's still being talked about in the deal. Cal Peterson was involved in that Flyers Jackets Kings trade earlier this week. Kevin, is there salvaging Cal Peterson? Because Cal Peterson was thought of at one point to be, a guy that might be a future number 1 goaltender for the LA Kings. And then he just had this horrendous start last year, and he didn't even finish the season on the roster. It ended up, of course, being, Quick then got traded, but it was Quick, and then it was obviously for a while. And then they got Korpisalo at the trade deadline. But for a while there, they had Quick and Copley in LA. And all of a sudden, Cal Peterson's the forgotten man. What do you think of Cal Peterson's game, Kevin? He was pretty solid at one point, just fell off the radar in a bad run at the end of his tenure with LA. But no telling he can't get it back. I think that's a possibility. He could get back, and a change of scenery is good for him.
Yeah, his first 3 years in the league, he broke in pretty well, really good numbers. Stole a job from Jonathan Quick there, and then just fell off. I mean, really, both those guys fell off. Jonathan Quick kind of at the end of his storied career. You kind of expect that, but it was Cal Peterson's net for the taking. They're grooming him, getting ready for him to take over, and he kind of just fell off here. He's only 28, so yeah, there's a lot of runway. There's been stories with a ton of guys, who have kind of, been around that backup role, maybe even fallen down to the AHL, come back, and then all of a sudden, boom, 28, 29, they find their game, and they kind of start demanding the net. So I think for sure he still has a couple of years to kind of find his game here. You hope for Philly that it's now, that's right away, especially to move on from Carter Hart. The sooner the better. But this is a guy who deserves another chance as well. Goaltending is such a strange thing that sometimes a year, even in just a different environment, different goalie coach, just working on a few different things. Small changes could be the difference between being a guy who can't even stick in the league and then being a starter, even going to the NHL, like All-Star game. So you've seen that with a few guys, handful of guys over the last 5-10 years. Devin Dubnyk like comes to mind. Even Jack Campbell's had sways in every possible direction you can go. But yeah, it doesn't take much for goalie to find his game or lose his game. No better example with Bobrovsky right now. So yeah, I think Cal deserves a chance here in Philly, and I hope he finds his game.
Yeah, obviously I do too. I mean, it's a situation where you don't like to see a guy that all of a sudden, there's upside there. He's shown the ability to be a pretty capable, competent goaltender in the past, and all of a sudden now you see that things are kind of going against him, and his play obviously declined last year. But again, sometimes all it takes is that change of scenery. It's amazing how many times now, in watching hockey for 30 years, I've seen a player just have a tough time getting his game together and getting it to where he needs it and wants it to be in one place, gets traded, and all of a sudden it's like a different player. Gets confidence. Maybe also when he goes to a new team, the coach doesn't have any preconceived notions. Just says, what, clean slate. Who the fuck cares what happened in the previous destination? We're going to give you a chance really to just relax, play your game. And it's amazing how often that gets someone back on track when they've been struggling. But apparently,
other than the top 7, maybe 7-8 goalies in the NHL who are your reliable, consistent starters, where you're thrown out every night. Other than that, maybe that's even too long of a list. Because the guys even after the top 3-4, like goaltending is such an inconsistent position. So to go even a year having a bad year and then bounce back quickly, like it happens all the time. So it's very possible he can find his game quickly.
Yeah, and DeBrincat now, as far as he's concerned, this is a guy that's obviously going to get attention. Apparently, he's submitted what's quote unquote preferred destinations list to Pierre Dorion, the GM of the Ottawa Senators. We'll see who would be on that list. But you're talking about a guy that even in a new team last year, I think he had a slow start, but boy, he got it going. He still ended up with 66 points, in 82 games last year with the Ottawa Senators. And obviously that's a bona fide top 6 forward that someone will be able to acquire in a deal. So Ottawa is definitely or at least listening to potential offers for Alex DeBrincat in Ottawa. And you talk about a busy GM in another Canadian market right now. How about Kevin Cheveldayoff right now for Winnipeg? They are peddling not peddling, but they're listening. They're kicking the tires on Connor Hellebuck. They're at least exploring the market and seeing what teams would be willing to pony up in a deal for a guy that when he's on top of his game, he's one of the best goaltenders in the NHL. I know the Buffalo Sabres have been linked to Winnipeg with talks about Hellebuck, and you talk about a team that desperately needs a bona fide NHL surefire goaltender, number one goaltender. Buffalo would be, right at or near the top of that list for sure. But that's not all. Pierre-Luc Dubois, it's the worst kept secret, really. Pierre-Luc Dubois wants out of Winnipeg. I think he's been wanting out of Winnipeg since early last year. I mean, this is not breaking news or anything. We know that he's been looking for a new destination. And I know Montreal has long been in the conversation for Pierre-Luc Dubois with Winnipeg, but there's other teams that would certainly be interested in him. Kind of a flighty player at times last year, no doubt. He had some incredible runs, and then there's 6 or 7 games in a row where he just goes completely quiet and kind of struggles. But there's no doubt he's a big body presence, power forward. Can win faceoffs, score you goals, contribute offensively, be pretty solid, especially when he wants to be, and he's committed, and the efforts there defensively as well. So Pierre-Luc Dubois will definitely garner interest. There's no question from various teams. I mentioned Hellebuck. Buffalo's in the mix. Montreal is apparently putting their name into the ring as well. Talked about Montreal interested in Dubois. Apparently they're listening on Hellebuck as well, or at least they're trying to explore what they'd have to give up to get Connor Hellebuck. And when you look at Montreal's goaltending situation, Jake Allen, is just, the twilight of his career at this point. And really, he's not someone I think you want as a full-on number one at this point in his career. I think they really like what they're seeing and the progress being made by Samuel Montembeault. I thought for a pretty bad hockey team last year, he played reasonably well. for a lot of that season last year. And then he has an excellent World Hockey Championship just now playing for Canada, where I thought he played great in that tournament. So maybe there's a thought process for Marty St. Louis, for Kent Hughes, the GM, that, hey, maybe we'll give Montembeault a little rope here to be the number one goaltender next year. See how that goes. If they decide, we're still not quite ready to fully give the job to Montembeault, maybe they do bring in a Connor Hellebuck and get a deal done with Winnipeg to get him here in Montreal. But definitely interest there. Those two Jets, Alex, and also you can talk about DeBrincat if you have something to say regarding him. But those three names this week have suddenly popped up. Well, a little hard in there, but Hart, Hellebuck, Dubois, and DeBrincat. Four names where it's basically open season now for these teams listing the trade offers for these four players.
Yeah, I mean, and Hellebuck is obviously the biggest piece in that of those four guys. For him to go to Buffalo would be massive. And we talked about it kind of a little bit on the Betcast the other night if you were watching. I said, Hellebuck goes to Buffalo. Not only are they a playoff team for the first time in forever, they're winning that first round series. That tandem with him and Devin Levi, as good as he looked already, of course, a small sample size, but the fact now that he gets to be a true number two goaltender. You don't have to worry about him being 1A, 1B. He gets all the time in the world to develop at the NHL level because Hellebuck's a guy who can eat a bunch of minutes. However, we talked about how Hellebuck should probably get a little bit more rest because he's been such a workhorse for Winnipeg. If Levi emerges as a guy who's ready right now to play 25, 30 games, then he could step in that role. That would make a great scenario in that goaltending room in Buffalo if they could land him. And moving UPL to Winnipeg, which is more likely to be part of that deal if it happens, I think that's a great fit too. You know, he's right there. He's on the cusp of being an NHL goalie. Don't know if he's going to be a true number one or maybe a 1A, 1B. I think Winnipeg would be a good landing place for him, and I think that's a team where he could easily take the reins and be the starter sooner than later. So that would be a great move for sure. DeBrincat, of course, I mean, I'd love to see DeBrincat if he can come back to Chicago in some form or fashion, but I doubt that is the case. But whoever lands him, I think he'll get, I think he'll have a much better full season wherever he lands next year. I think, the trade, I think, kind of maybe caught him off guard a little bit going to Ottawa. Ottawa's situation was kind of up and down. We all thought they were going to be this great team that could make a playoff push. Then they had the rough start. Then they kind of tried to creep back in the middle of the year, and it just wasn't enough. There's too many other good teams in that division and conference. So I think he'll get his footing back wherever he does land. It'd be great if it was back in the west side of Chicago. But like I said, the Hellebuck move, that's going to be the biggest piece because, like I said, that changes everything with where these other goaltenders land between now and the rest of free agency, and just also bolsters that Buffalo lineup. That makes them a true contender in the Atlantic and a true contender in the East.
Yeah, Real Deal Prime saying UPL is in Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen for Buffalo, can't be sent down to AHL. If they were to acquire Hellebuck, he'd be going the other way.
He has to go back.
There's no question. Yeah, no doubt about it. He'd be going the other way. And really, he's become, I don't want to say expendable, because he's still very young, but there's nothing I've seen out of UPL that tells me he's ready yet for the end. There was no consistency in his game, and he had some brilliant nights. There's no doubt. There's something there. There's talent there. There's upside there. There's potential to be a damn good NHL goalie, but he's still not at that consistency level. I honestly thought, albeit a smaller sample size from a consistency standpoint, Devin Levi already has Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen beat, because I thought the way Devin Levi played, it was just more consistency. There's going to be maybe the odd night where he's okay, not great, but I'm not going to have those clunkers, those really bad nights, that UPL had, unfortunately, a few too many times. So, but he had some spectacular nights. I remember that fucking road trip Buffalo had last year when they went through Colorado and Dallas and all these tough teams out west, and UPL was playing great on that road trip, but something he wasn't able to sustain, unfortunately, throughout the course of the season. I am perfectly fine with Buffalo getting Hellebuck because I don't want Devin Levi playing 75, 80 games yet. No way. He's too young for that. No way do I want that. And it's a great match for Hellebuck because he's at the stage of his career, and Alex pointed this out perfectly, that, he can't play 70, 80 games anymore, year in, year out. He's going to just wear this guy down. He's already played a shit ton of hockey the last several years in Winnipeg. So it's a perfect fit where you can give Hellebuck 50, 55 games, and you can give, or 60 even, and you can give Levi the rest. Something like that, where obviously you give more than half to Hellebuck, but you're also going to get Devin Levi a ton of meaningful playing time as well. upwards of 25, 30 games. So that's why I think a Hellebuck, Devin Levi goaltending battery in Buffalo would be very nice, I think, for them. And he'd be able to learn off a veteran goaltender and one of the best the last few years in the NHL. So I think it would be a phenomenal tandem for the Buffalo Sabres. And again, I think they can live and survive if they don't have Hellebuck, because they'll just gravitate to Levi's the number one guy, and he'll probably play a few more games. But I think having that veteran presence there to help Devin Levi out in his first full season in the NHL with the Buffalo Sabres, it would be just terrific for his development.
Yeah, I agree with Alex there. I think you get Hellebuck in Buffalo. Like, I think that's an instant, like, they're a playoff team instantly. There's only a handful of NHL guys who play the amount of minutes
They've
Hellebuck
suddenly
does.
got one of the better goaltending duos
Yeah,
in the NHL
easily.
if they get
Yeah.
Hellebuck.
Easily.
Oh, 100%. Like, there's only a handful of guys who play the amount of games he has, like the last handful of years, and put up the numbers he has. Like, he's a top 5 NHL guy. So, like, you put him anywhere, and that's a huge boost to the team. And then I agree with your point. Like, for Devin Levi, like, he's ready, but it would be a great addition to his development to learn from Connor there. And then, yeah, like you said, like, it instantly be one of the top combos in the league. And then hopefully Winnipeg gives UPL kind of chance there to develop. He looks like he needs a little more kind of conditioning, a little more time to find his game at the NHL level. Obviously Buffalo looks like they're ready just to kind of light the gas here, and looks like it could be a rocket ship with the young guys they have, and the next couple of years are going to be pretty exciting for them.
Yep, no doubt. And of course, we mentioned on Monday's show, Greg Cronin hired as head coach of the Anaheim Ducks. Jimmy said it perfectly on Monday's show that Greg Cronin knows Pat Verbeek, the GM of the Anaheim Ducks, very well. It was kind of a choice that made sense in terms of there's familiarity there. He's done a good job in the AHL. That Colorado Eagles team that he coached in the AHL, Greg Cronin, they've done very well. So I don't mind the hire. And so we'll see how it goes in Anaheim, which means now we only have 2 more openings for head coaches. We still don't have a head coaching announcement in New York yet with the Rangers. And obviously we're still waiting on the Calgary Flames as well. The 2 remaining head coaching vacancies in those 2 areas. I mean, I've heard everybody floated around the Rangers. Peter Laviolette, John Hines. There was some talk about Patrick Waugh, but I think the Rangers shot that down from what I've read about Patrick Waugh going there. Calgary, they've been all over the map. They've been talking to a bunch of different Mitch Love, their AHL coach with the Wranglers, in play. Gerard Gallant was in play, but apparently they veered away in a different direction with that. Travis Green, former Vancouver Canucks head coach, has been linked with Calgary. So they're still, going through their process of hiring their next head coach. But New York and Calgary, we're still waiting on them. Any guesses, Alex, who you think might be hired in these 2 teams?
I don't know why I got a feeling New York might be waiting on a call from the NHL saying that somebody might be cleared before they make a head coaching hire.
Yeah, you got to wonder.
I got that feeling. Yeah. I got that feeling. As far as Calgary goes, I think Mitch Love would be the great choice. Go younger. Go with someone who's experienced in-house, has worked with these young guys, had a great season with the Wranglers, and the year before the Stockton Heat. I think that's the way you build up young. Don't go old. I'm glad I didn't go with Gallant. You already made that mistake with Sutter. You got to get younger. You got to have a new culture and identity built in Calgary. You need a new kind of just march forward. I think Mitch Love's the guy. They should go with him. That's
Yeah, and I'm very disappointed in the Rangers in the fact that initially there was a lot of chatter that Chris Knobloch, the head coach of their AHL affiliate with the Hartford Wolfpack, was going to get a shot to be the head coach. And now I'm not hearing anything about. So it's almost like he's not even in the mix anymore, Chris Knobloch, to be the head coach of the New York Rangers. And that's a shame, because I think what Alex said is right. I like to see these guys that have coached in the minors, that have paid their dues, get the opportunity, especially if they're younger guys that relate to the younger players these days. Mitch Love would be a great candidate in Calgary to go from the Wranglers to the Flames. Chris Knobloch going from Hartford to the New York Rangers would be great. I mean, Chris Knobloch's only in his 40s. He's a young guy, new ideas. He's worked his way up. Why not give him a shot to be Rangers head coach? Why do we have to recycle the same guys all the time? Laviolette, John Hines for the millionth time. I mean, enough already. Let's give some young up-and-coming coaches that have really worked their ass off to advance themselves in their careers to get that shot. Why can't we do that? So that's the frustrating part for me, especially with what's going on in New York. You got a guy right there in Knobloch that I think deserves an opportunity. And especially now you've gone through the older coach way of doing things the last few times, Tortorella, Gallant, not so much Quinn. Quinn was a little younger, but still, you've done it multiple times. Do something fresh for a change. Speaking of something fresh, we got Jimmy Murphy, fresh in the car, wherever he is. Jimmy, what's going on?
How you doing, guys? Yeah, just bouncing around in the car right now. But yeah, did something happen? I've been off Twitter for like the last half hour. So did something happen with the Rangers?
No, but nothing's happened yet. We haven't heard anything. We were just talking about this, just updating the news and notes. We talked a little bit of the Philly, Columbus, and LA trade earlier this week, and we're talking about how we've heard DeBrincat and Dubois and a couple other players in trade discussions right now.
Okay.
And of course, the vacancies that are remaining.
Yep.
Calgary. We're trying to forecast who's going to which city, and it's hard to right now. The Rangers are up in the air. Calgary really hasn't moved with full. Craig Conroy is taking his damn time. Let's put it that way, to hire a head coach as well, just like Chris Drury.
Yeah, I heard what you were just saying about Knobloch, and I agree with you. I'm tired of these veteran coaches being recycled and everything, but I just think when it comes to the Rangers specifically, and this is a team that feels they're right there, and they're veteran laden, and they're just knocking on the door as far as they can see. So I think that's why you are going to see a Laviolette. I think he's going to get the job. I may be wrong, but I think he's the perfect type right now just for that team, because he's proven time and time again that he's a guy that can come in and jumpstart a team, take a team that was knocking on the door, bring them over the hump. And he's only hoisted the cup once, obviously, with Carolina. But, I mean, he got that Flyers team over the hump in 2010.
Nashville to a Cup final.
Nashville to the Cup final, exactly. So I just think he's the type of fit they're looking for. I don't get the John Hines thing. I mean, I'm on record on this show as telling you, I think John Hines is an amazing assistant coach. He's just, how many times can he prove that he's not a good head coach?
Yep.
What do you want? I mean, I don't know why he would get another chance. I have no idea. Maybe it's the BU connection with Chris Drury that's making that happen right now. But that's about it. When it comes to John Hines, I don't think he's a good fit for that team right now. But I do want to see other young coaches get a fit there. And you look at Calgary, guys, I don't know. I mean, what's their deal? Is Conroy, is he going to kind of revamp things? Then maybe he does go with a younger coach. But if he feels he's kind of in a similar position than the Rangers to just sort of get over the hump there, and they can make some damage in the playoffs next year, then maybe he brings a veteran guy in. We'll see. But I would think Laviolette is the guy, unless all of a sudden Chris Drury decides to call Patrick Waugh. That'll be interesting to see if that happens.
Yeah, no doubt. You know what he reminds me of, John Hines, a little bit? Mike Kitchen. Just a little bit.
Yeah,
Mike Kitchen's a hell of an assistant coach all these years and many decades in the NHL. Started with Pat Burns in Toronto when they went to the conference finals back-to-back years, early 90s. It was his first foray as an assistant coach in the NHL. Those great Leaf teams then that almost got to the Stanley Cup final. And then he's been many years and decades even as an assistant. But that one little opportunity he got as a head coach, I think it was in St. Louis, didn't go well. He only lasted a couple years there, and that was it. That's John Hines. John Hines, you're right. I think he's a better assistant coach, and I think it's proven now the last few seasons with New Jersey and Nashville. All right, good stuff. We'll be back to talk Game 3. It's time to talk Game 3, Vegas and Florida. We'll break it down for you in just a moment. Everyone on YouTube, hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. Back to preview Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final right after we hear from Gramco.
Support for the Ice Guys is brought to you by Gramco. Whether you or your team's game is on the field, screen, racetrack, court, or the ice, Gramco is for the game. Grown by farmers who spent years developing premium hemp genetics, Gramco provides customers with consistent quality Delta 8 THC products ready for any occasion. Gramco currently offers numerous Delta 8 products, including vape cartridges, disposable vapes, pre-rolls, gummies, wake and bake coffee, and more. Gramco offers an enjoyable, legal high delivered discreetly and directly to you. Gramco is also available at many American retailers as well. You can get the best Delta 8 cannabis products on the market shipped quickly and discreetly from Gramco. And if you visit www.thegramco.com. Use promo code IceGuys. You will get 20% off of every order, and any order that's on the site over $50 will be shipped free with standard shipping. So live elevated with Gramco and check out their wonderful Delta 8 products today.
All right. Game 3, NHL Stanley Cup Final. By the way, IceX, Mike Kitchen is what I obviously meant. Maybe I said the K or didn't enunciate the K enough. If it sounded like my kitchen, I apologize for that. But Mike Kitchen is who I was referring to there. All right, Game 3, Stanley Cup Final tonight as the scene shifts to Sunrise, FLA Live Arena. We've got the Vegas Golden Knights and the Florida Panthers. Florida minus 120, home favorites, 6 the total here in Game 3. Note the total, 6 here for Game 3 tonight. The first 6 of the series after Game 1 and Game 2 are both 5.5. So we've seen the adjustment obviously being made after we saw 2 overs in the first 2 games of this series. Look, for Florida, this has to be a game where it's just you don't leave anything in the holster, especially early. You've got to come out. You've got to dictate the play. You've got to be, obviously their physicality has not just matched yours. It's exceeded yours in the first 2 games of this series. Vegas, over Florida. But you've got to play good physical hockey, but do it smart. Because I think while Vegas is doing a brilliant job beating Florida, Florida is helping them out by kind of beating themselves. The amount of penalties, the lack of discipline, just their insistency, in trying to get shit started after the whistle. Just these face washing and these, jabs that, you're seeing multiple Florida Panthers try to throw at Vegas players after the whistle. And these extra shot, extra cross check, extra whack of the stick, extra jab in the face, that kind of shit. And it's given them, it's gotten them in big time penalty trouble. Now, I know the Panther fan, there's been some that have been critical of the officiating, saying they're being too harsh with this. They're calling every little thing that we do. Maybe a couple weren't warranted, but the majority were. You've just got to get that shit corrected. You've got to play hard and play physical, but do it in between the whistles. You can't be doing it again after the whistle and taking these extra penalties, because it's just killing your momentum. And as I always say, when you're taking too many penalties in a hockey game, you don't get your best players on the ice as much, because many of them don't kill penalties. So it's just a domino effect in a negative light for the Florida Panthers. So, they definitely have to play with a lot more discipline. I don't know, just the change in venue going from T-Mobile Arena in Vegas to FLA Live Arena in Florida, give the refs a chance to maybe give Florida a better whistle. Are they going to be a little more lenient on the Panthers? I'm not so sure about that. But it's got to start with how the Florida Panthers conduct themselves on the ice. And play hard, play physical, bring that element, which you need to in a Stanley Cup final, but do it before the whistle blows. Do it. And once the whistle blows, you can't involve yourself in these face washing and cross-checking a Vegas player after the whistle. You know why you can't do it? Because they're doing it to draw retaliation from the Vegas Golden Knights. And they aren't retaliating. Nobody is. Tkachuk was grabbing Pietrangelo by the scruff of the jersey and putting his glove right in his face, and it's a stinky, sweaty, smelly glove. No one wants that shit in their face. It's very easy to just lose it on someone when they're doing that to you, and all of a sudden, you're in the box for a retaliation penalty. Pietrangelo didn't do that. Nobody on Vegas is retaliating to any of these things that Florida are doing after the whistle. So it's got to stop. Okay, it's not working. It didn't work in Game 1. It didn't work in Game 2. Play hockey, all right? Play in between the whistles. That's what Florida has to do here tonight in this game. I like Florida in the first period. That's all, though. That's all I'm going to be betting here is that first period look on the Florida Panthers. And obviously, to get a little more bang for my buck with it, we're going to go with the plus 180 that you can find on Florida first period puck line in this game. So that's Florida minus a half, plus 180. First period puck. It's a hell of a price, and I think in this matchup here tonight, it's got to come and it's got to happen in the first 20 minutes. If Florida's going to win tonight, I don't see Florida winning tonight if they have a bad first period and they're trailing. it has to be a game where if they're going to win this game, it has to start with that opening 20 minutes, set the tone, get into this series, use the crowd. And again, you're talking with the puck line here, plus 180 in the first period puck line. I do like that quite a bit. Actually, most of my betting action, at least as far as the sides and totals for tonight, it's going to be in the first 20 minutes, because I'm right back to the well with over 1.5 in the first period as well. I've talked about the over 1.5 in the first period repeatedly here, and you can still get it at minus 120 at FanDuel, minus 125 at Bet365, minus 130, at DraftKings. So it's moved up a little bit, the juice, but not enough to take me off this bet. I mean, this has been something that's been extremely strong, especially for Vegas, going back to the Western Conference Finals, where we have seen Vegas now, I believe it's something like 5 or 6 games in a row now. First period over has cashed for them here in the Stanley Cup playoffs, going back to the Dallas series. So those are the primary bets for me. Both of them first period looks. Florida, minus 0.5, plus 180, first period puck line, and first period over 1.5, minus 120. For me here in this game as well. So mostly first period looks. The draw, it hasn't worked out here in 2 games, but I'll sprinkle on that. I did say I was going to look at the draw quite a bit. If ever there's going to be a draw, it could be tonight. Change of scenery. It's a vital game for the Florida Panthers, down 2-0 in this series. But primary bets are first period puck line, Florida, plus 180, and over 1.5, minus 120 first period as well for Vegas and Florida. Alex, what do you think here? Game 3, Vegas, Florida.
So it's really interesting, right? And I know this history because of obviously the date, but this is the first time there will be a Game 3 in Florida since 1996, when that Game 3, that was the first ever Stanley Cup final game in Panther history, also played on June 8th. And they played against Colorado, and ironically enough, they were down 0-2 in that series, heading back home. Sure enough, ended up losing in 4 straight. And, it was one of those, moments and instances when you're watching Game 2 where you just saw just everything just completely come apart, and we saw that in Game 1. You think, okay, the frustration, trying to set the tone for the series. Yeah, we're going to see that animosity, but just sheer boneheadedness from so many guys wearing the red and white, and Florida just can't not allow themselves to do that. They cannot allow to give Vegas power play chances with how hot this offense is getting. You can't allow to let Aiden Hill get hot, and not, give him, you have to pepper him with quality shots and quality chances and good looks and get traffic in front of them. They're not doing any of that right now. They're not getting any of the space in the middle of the ice. We talked about that ad nauseum about how they were able to do that with other teams, but Vegas takes that away from you. They own the ice. And until they can try to get some piece of the ice back, this is going to be Vegas' series. And Florida, like I said, they have to come out swinging everything. They got to dump the tank out, as far as I'm concerned, in the first period. So I like the Florida on the first period puck line. But I also did add a couple of quarter unit bets to what I've already had. I essentially now have Vegas to win the series in each of the games. So Vegas in 4 at plus 300, Vegas in 5 at plus 250. I already had Vegas in 6 and Vegas in 7 before the series started. So I just pretty much have a whole unit spread across that now with this spot, because if Florida does not win this first period, I think they lose this game. I think they lose the series, and they could easily get swept. We just saw it last year with Florida and Tampa Bay. It's got that same kind of feel there where Vegas just has all the momentum on their side. So Florida's got to come out and play 20 minutes of Game 3 like it's the last 20 minutes of Game 7. And if they don't do that, then it might be curtains for them. So the only thing I'm looking at here is Florida, first period puck line. I see it as high as plus 180, laying the half a goal. I got plus 170.
Yeah, definitely. Plus 175, plus 180, and that range is what you can get with the Florida first period puck line. I think it's from a value standpoint, it's absolutely the best value bet if you like Florida. It's better than minus 120. I'd take plus 180 for that first period puck line with Florida in a heartbeat over the full game money line, because I think they're going to have the lead after the first, but I could either see them building on the lead and winning after the first period, or I could see Vegas hanging around, getting stronger as the game goes on, as they typically do, and then they tie the game and they end up getting the win and going up 3-0. I think it could go either way, but what I am pretty confident in is that Florida will have a very good first 20 minutes. And again, you get plus 180 with that for the puck line instead of a minus 120. So definitely prefer that. And again, I'm right back to the well with the first period over. I kind of lean to the full game over again, but I don't like it as much as 6 at 6. I will say this though: the first 2 games in this series in Vegas, They averaged 7.1 expected goals per game. Okay, 7.1 expected goals per game average in the first 2 games of this series. So that tells you that there's been tons of danger chances. It's been more wide open than we thought. But more than anything, it's at 7.1 expected goals per game in the first 2 games because of all the penalties. It's been a penalty parade, largely Florida penalties, but that has influenced the expected goals count and why it's probably higher than we otherwise would have thought. So I think if obviously Florida reins in the discipline, you're eventually going to see maybe a lower scoring game in this series. But I'm not convinced of that fully. So that's why the full game total is tricky. And I still think if we get to an elimination game, we're eventually going to see some tighter hockey. We're going to see some lower scoring hockey once we get to those elimination games. But I'm on the fence. At 5.5, I probably do bet the full game over. At 6, I lean that way, but I don't like it as much. I just love the first period over, though, in particular, because I think it's got to be aggression early from Florida, get on the board, and it's not asking much right now to get 2 goals in the first period of a Vegas playoff game in particular. This has been a consecutive game over streak in the first period for them going back to the Dallas series. Jimmy, what do you think here? Game 3, Jimmy's back in his comfortable confines of home now. What do you think here for Game 3?
Yeah, guys, look, I like you. I'm with you. I love that first period puck line for Florida. I think they come out flying, and they'll have a lead after 1 there. However, I don't think by any means does that mean they're going to go on to victory. And I like your call on a draw, too. So those are 2 of my plays right there. Is the first period puck line Florida and the draw. Have no idea, really, who's going to end up winning this one. So I'll just stick with that when it comes to the sides. But in terms of player props, guys, I look for Aaron Ekblad to have a big game tonight. I think he's way, way overdue. He kind of, really seized the moment early on in the playoffs. This is a guy that's really been with that team for a while now. I mean, he's been going at it since that new ownership came in there, right? And so he seemed pretty excited when he finally got on a run here in the playoffs, but he's kind of faded off. So I like him. I like his over shots, over 2.5 shots there for Aaron Ekblad. And I like him to score a goal as well. So I like the odds there.
All right, there we go. Liking a shot here with Aaron Ekblad here tonight for the Florida Panthers. And we'll see if he is able to dent the twine and get on a run. And, of course, you're right. This is a guy that's capable, of contributing from the back end from an offensive perspective. We just haven't seen much of it. Even Montour's offense has kind of cooled off, here after that torrid start he had, particularly in the Boston series in the first round. But those 2 guys got to play big. It's a huge boost for Florida that Radko Gudas is okay and that he's going to play tonight for them. It's big because he's played big here in these Stanley Cup playoffs for the Florida Panthers. So to have Radko Gudas ready to go is important. I know Kevin might hit on some props just quickly on that. What I would do instead of betting individual shots on goal props, I would do, I've been doing this quite a bit, a same game parlay of shots on goal props for one team and a same game parlay shots on goal props for the other team. Just go for a bigger payout instead, because I noticed that the shots on goal numbers can really be a lot more variance and a lot more erratic with results for it one game to the next in a playoff series. So I'd prefer taking the small shot with the same game parlays rather than bet them individually. But if you're going to look for players to shoot the puck for Florida, you look for Bennett because he's the kind of guy that's been shooting the puck quite a bit. Tkachuk, it goes without saying. He got to 4 shots on goal in the last game, even though he had, 30-plus minutes of penalties, and he still had 4 shots on goal. So that's a sign that he can probably get over 3.5 tonight. Verhaeghe, Barkov, Montour, Bennett, Ekblad, Jimmy likes him. I mean, those are players that you would definitely maybe throw into a little bit of a parlay prop, if you will, for Florida. And then on the flip side, if you look at the Vegas Golden Knights, many of their players that have been contributing and shooting the puck quite a bit for them, it's been usually Eichel's been good with shooting the puck, but he's also been good dishing, but he's been going over. Mark Stone actually has seen his shot volume go up. William Karlsson, Marcia, so it goes without saying, and Theodore and Pietrangelo have been shooting the puck a lot more, Theodore in particular. So you might have value with their props as well for Vegas. And then as far as the point props, I'm really not going to go into too much detail because it's going to regurgitate everything I've said so far in this series. I'd go Bennett and Tkachuk and Verhaeghe for Florida. Focus on those 3 guys. for Florida. And then for Vegas, it's basically that same group that I've been cashing in with repeatedly for point props. Marchessault, Barbashev, Carlson, Stevenson, Nicholas Waugh, who is very capable of getting on the score sheet. And they're all like even money or plus money to get a point, other than Marchessault. Marchessault's minus 150 to get a point, which is still a bargain considering what he's done. And the goal prop for Marchessault, because he's just popping in the goals like Pez dispensers right now for the Vegas Golden Knights. So, those are all the props I'm interested in here. I know Kevin might have a few. What do you think here, Beachy, with Game 3, Vegas, Florida?
Yeah, for starters, Ian. So they have these new methods of washing like hockey gear. So like gloves with like sprays, machines. So those face washes right now, they're not as effective to get that kind of counterpelling and
Not as
get the
odorous,
Vegas.
huh?
No,
Yeah.
no. So it's not doing the
That's
job because they got those new sprays and equipment. So those gloves are a little bit too fresh. So it hasn't been working out for Florida there. I'm going to go with my favorite new bet here on FanDuel, first to 5 shots. I'm going to take Florida at plus 110 for first 5 shots of the game as a team in the
Good
first
one.
10 minutes.
Yep.
They're down 2-0, Stanley Cup Finals. You're back at home. You've had 2 games where you haven't been playing hockey. You've just been going after guys. Like now's the time to play hockey. So if they don't come to the gates hard, I think we're all kind of predicting them to come to the gates hard. So that's the one I'm going to jump on is their team to first to 5 shots in the first 10 minutes. You get plus 110 as the price. So I like that. Ian, I like your over on the first period. I think that's a pretty good bet. And I finally am going to jump on the over in the game. So I have found it for over 5.5 at minus 128. I think I was on the under last game. I was kind of waiting for things to clamp down, and I just think Bob's bubble is kind of popped here. I still expect him to play well, but the likelihood of him keeping it to a 1 or shutting out a team, I think has been tough with Vegas. Vegas just too deep, playing too well. I also look for Florida to finally like maybe do something on the power play here, chip one in here or there on the power play. Aiden Hill's just had too many huge saves, so I feel Florida's got to pop a couple in. So if you can find that full game at 5.5, I like the over on that. I'm going to jump on the Jack Eichel train as well. The assist prop for plus 100, so plus money there.
That's unbelievable. That prop is only plus 100. I mean, he's 2 assists in each of the first 2 games. 2 assists in game 1, 2 assists in game 2. He's been setting up his teammates more than scoring. And this goes back to the Dallas series, and his assist prop is still plus 100, plus 104 at FanDuel. That's insanity.
Yeah, he's got 6 in his last 5. He's leading the playoffs in assists.
Yep.
So that one there, even though they're in Florida, I'm going to jump on that. Rich, just from the chat there, I'm waiting him on tour to get 6 in a game. That was a prop I put in at the start of the series. He's been hitting those in OT games, so I'm still waiting for that OT game. That's usually where he kind of pops off and hits that number. So I'm kind of still hoping for a tie as well. And then David in the chat he wants me to hit those under props, my under props that I like. And I agree with Ian right now. I've been pretty light on props since the first round, just because I find it's tough. It's kind of all over the place in these playoff series. So I've been pretty light on those. So I just have the one with Jack Eichel, but that's an over on at least 1 assist, and that's what I got for the game.
Yeah, no doubt. There's definitely some good options here as far as player props go here tonight in this one. If to be quite honest with you, as far as player props go, there's if you're going to look at if you're going to look at something in the under variety, I guess tonight in this game, I'm just going down the list. I don't mind taking a shot with Reinhart under. I don't know. I find Reinhart's had a very quiet series. And you do get plus money with that prop. Now, the only concern is this is a Florida team that's got to go all out, and everybody's got to go all out. So maybe this is a night you say, well, Reinhardt's not exactly been at the forefront offensively, but tonight's the night he's got to come alive. But we haven't really seen it. So if you're going to take a shot with an under points prop, he'd be the guy, I think. And the price is good, plus 135 on the under 0.5 points for Sam Reinhart tonight. The other Sam is the one I think is going to be more noticeable tonight for Florida. Sam Bennett for the Florida Panthers here tonight in this game. No doubt. Yeah, Reinhart has been invisible. Missing hits shots, ruined my. Yeah, exactly, Taylor. Yeah, that's to me, he has been quiet. If you're going to, like, there you go, Dave. You wanted an under prop. That would be that. If I had to pick one, that's who it would be, especially for Florida. It would be Sam Reinhart under a point, or to get no points, essentially, at plus 135. So that one ain't bad, because again, his impact in the series hasn't been great. I'm fascinated to see, guys, what we get from Bobrovsky tonight, because he's had just this incredible run. He has a game to forget, a nightmarish game in game 2. Not all his fault, obviously. Not all his fault, but, they were beating him high. They were starting to go high on him with the shots. He wasn't nearly tracking the puck as well. He gets pulled, and I wish I could have gotten an image, a snapshot image at the time of some of the television shots that were caught in game 2 after Bobrovsky got pulled, and he's sitting there on the bench. You talk about a sad-looking face. Oh my gosh. The times they show Bobrovsky on the bench after he got pulled the other night, he looked like someone died in the family, honestly. Like, just totally depressed, totally disillusioned with what just happened here. And he looked like he was going to cry. Honestly, I thought for a minute there was going to be a tear or two, strolling down the cheeks, at some point.
What a turn from, a game and a half ago, from when he got pulled to when he's crying because he's going to the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah.
So, like, how fast can things change here? Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see what you get. I was looking for that bounce back from in game 2. I actually liked this game in game 1. I thought he was very good, made some big saves. I thought Florida was just, gave up too much. The goals that he gave up in game 1 didn't fault him too much. I thought traffic had a lot to do with it. Vegas is doing a really good job of making sure they know he's hot, so they're always getting a body in front of his face, which Florida has to do with Hill now. They kind of got to take a page out of Vegas's books. But what a turn from crying because you're going to the Stanley Cup Finals to being on the bench, pulled, crying out of being upset. So
and on the verge of crying after being pulled. Yeah, exactly, in game 2. But yeah, he looked just, depressed is not even a strong enough word. That old saying, a picture tells 1,000 words. Man, those images of Bobrovsky on the bench after getting pulled in game 2, just total black look of depression, and just completely like he wanted to break down and cry, honestly.
Well, to borrow a line,
sorry,
like I said, borrow a line from the old movie Friday. If he gets pulled in this one, he's gonna go cry in the car because it's pretty much over with.
That's true. There ain't no tomorrow for Florida if they lose tonight. There is no question about that. And don't put it past Vegas that if Vegas wins tonight, to close this damn thing out in 4, because we know how they can close out a game on the road, right? They showed it in Dallas. That was I think that was their perfect game, and that's what Bruce Cassidy called it. Perfect game. That game 6 in Dallas in the Western Conference Finals. We were perfect that night. Perfection. That was like a perfect hockey game, offensively, defensively, shutting it down when we had the big 4-0 lead. You couldn't ask for better than what Vegas gave you in that game 6.
And Ian, remember what I said in the backcast, and Jimmy, I'm glad you're here to witness this 2 weeks. I said this gets to where Vegas is up 3-0 in this series. It's going to be in the back of Bruce Cassidy's mind to think, not only will I have a chance to finally win the Stanley Cup, first year in Vegas, but now I get to also put away this Florida team to show that killer instinct that Boston couldn't do, and they were up 3-1 in the series. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be a complete blowout whenever Vegas has the chance to clinch. I think that first chance, they're going to get it, and it's going to be an ugly
game. Yeah. I'm with you guys. I'm with you. He can say all he wants, and it doesn't matter, but it does. And then I don't know if you guys saw it, too. He recently was talking about how ever since the Bruins lost in Game 7 of 2019, and I get it. If you're the son or daughter of a player or coach, you're going to hear some stuff. It's tough. You can be a target. But he said it was pretty bad what his kids had to deal with over the years in Boston for that loss. And, so they still have a cup. They still have a house on Cape Cod. And I think he's going to bring that cup back to Cape Cod and shove it in their face.
Yeah, I think that's 2 wins away from happening. There's no. How about all the ex-Boston Bruins connections, by the way, that are now on this Vegas team? When you think of it, when you talk about Bruce Cassidy, I'm not talking necessarily players. I'm talking about Dave Gosher and Shane Knighty, their fucking television broadcast team. Dave Gosher, longtime Bruins radio voice. Shane Knighty with that Bruins Stanley Cup team in 2011.
Their media relations director too. I don't know if he might have a different position now, but for a while, there's a guy named Eric Tosi who I dealt with a lot. He was the media relations director here with the Bruins, and he went out there with Gosher when the Vegas Knights came about.
Yeah. So he took the opportunity that was given to him, television opportunity. Why the hell not? Yeah. Television pays more than radio.
I miss Gosh. Gosh was great. He was a really he did a great job. He's a lot better than the radio guy they have now, Judd Surratt. I'm more of a Dave Gosher fan.
Yeah, there we go. And definitely missed. I've noticed that. I've noticed Bruins fans, and whenever I see Gosher tweet something, and I'm seeing in the replies, Bruins fans saying, "Miss you, Dave. Miss you, Dave. Wish you were still in Boston." Like that's the large sentiment. Definitely is that he's missed back in Beantown, and rightfully so. Does an outstanding job. Hopefully, we do an outstanding. Oh, Aiden Hill saves. Yes, thank you for mentioning that. I think that was Dave in our chat, Dave Redling, mentioning that with the saves prop. Yes. This is the night to take it for sure. Aiden Hill over 30.5 saves. The one concern is always, what if I don't think it'll happen, but let's say Florida just blitzes them early, 3-4-0, and they give Hill a rest and they pull him. That's the only fear you have. But I don't think he'll cave in that much, even if Florida's throwing a bunch of shots at him. So I do like that over saves for Aiden Hill tonight, over 30.5. I'd take a shot with it here in this game because, again, for Florida, you don't leave anything in a holster in a game like this. You have to come out firing right from the opening face-off, and I think they will. Great stuff with Alex and Jimmy and Kevin and everyone in the chat. We appreciate it. Hit the like button. Make sure you're checking out patreon.com/Ice Guys. Just $10 a month. Goalie charts, totals charts, power ratings, Ice Guys show betting card, bonus Patreon content. We'll have a little bit more bonus content that I'll be recording with a couple of guests in the next week or so, and we'll post those. And we've got a bunch of player suite, as we're going to call it, player interviews planned for the summer during the off season, just to keep the content flow going. Even though we won't have daily shows or even weekly shows anymore during the summer, but we will still have our free agency recap show, which we love doing in early July. We're looking forward to that, but we've got some great interviews coming up, current and former players that are not only former players, former NHL players, but they're actually in scouting roles. We've got a couple that are on the radar for our summer interview series. So we're looking forward to that throughout the summer months. So that'll be exclusively for our Patreon subscribers and members. So make sure you're checking that out. Patreon.com/Ice Guys.
Also, make sure to check out the Ice Guys store. Listen, I know it's my birthday, but there's no reason why you at home listening or watching this can't treat yourself to something nice. So check out iceguys.myspreadshop.com. We have a t-shirt or a cap or a hoodie or anything. We got a lot of cool stuff up there at the shop. So Ice Guys.
Happy birthday, Alex.
Thank you. Thank you, Jimmy.
I didn't realize it. Happy birthday.
There we go. No, I've known Alex long enough to know always that it's June. I just forget always which day of the week it is. Yeah, but I always knew it was it's June. But today is the day. 34 years old.
So I actually then with Alex, that's 8 straight days of people I know with birthdays. We had 5 in the middle, 5 consecutive ones in our family with cousins and what have you.
Yeah.
So you've got it now up to 8 straight days. There we go.
Nice. Good stuff.
Yeah, I've had those. July is the month for me with that. There's literally people I know, friends, family, colleagues. There's I think for me 4 or 5 days in a row where it's birthdays, including my own, which is a month away in mid-July. So yeah, it's coming up for me too, and looking forward to that. And so we again wish Alex a happy birthday. And a few hours after this show and tonight, that's when the fun begins for our guy Alex and getting into that boozing. Which is always one of my favorite parts of any birthday that either I celebrate or anybody I know. They're into the drinking side of things. So that's good. That's always the best part of celebrating a birthday. Good stuff. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We will be back in just a moment to wrap things up with best bets for Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final right after we hear from Manscaped. Support for the Ice Guys is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the promo code ICEGUYS. That's promo code ICEGUYS at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, it's about 14 million balls that you can preserve. The Performance Package 4.0 is the complete accessory package to take care of everything that is required. You've got, of course, the Lawnmower 4.0. Takes care of your facial hair and among other things. You've got, of course, the Weed Whacker. I'm approaching 40. Nose hair has become a major issue. It pisses the hell out of me. I need to take care of that shit, and the Weed Whacker can help you do that. Both of these products, waterproof and a 4000K LED spotlight for a more precise shave. And you'll also be able to take care of those delicate areas with the ball toner, with the ball deodorant, keep you smelling good, looking good, and feeling good down in the nether regions. This complete Performance Package 4.0 will take care of everything for you, for all you guys out there, and it's courtesy of our good friends at manscaped.com. So get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code IceGuys at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. And use promo code IceGuys. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. All right, it is time for best bets for Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final tonight on this Thursday night, on this birthday Thursday for our guy, Alex B. Smith, who, as always, we start with for best bet.
Yeah, so like I said, this is now or never for Florida. It's not just Game 3. It's specifically the first period of Game 3. They have to come out hotter than a pistol, and they've got to find a way to beat Adin Hill and get goals and get momentum back on their side in this game and in this series. I think they should be able to do that. Like I said, it's the first time Vegas is traveling from west to east in quite a while. Maybe a little rusty, not getting their legs quite under them just yet. Florida's going to have all the heat on their side. So let's go with the Panthers. First period puck line, laying the half a goal, plus 180 is the highest price you can find. Definitely shop around and grab the best number available. That's the best bet for my birthday.
There we go, and it's a good. I like that one as well. Florida Panthers -0.5, plus 180. First period puck line for Alex with his best bet. Jimmy, what do you like for best bet?
Yeah, I'm going to go with that first period puck line as well, guys. I see the Panthers coming out flying, so give me that.
All right, there we go. Florida as well. Got to bring out the Panthers sound for that. Yeah, 2 Florida Panthers puck line best bets, -0.5, plus 180. Jimmy as well in the first period for his best bet. Kevin Beach, what do you got for us for best bet?
Yeah, as much as I love the Panthers early, I think I'm going to even things out, and I like this price too much. Jack Eichel, anytime assist, either around plus 100, plus 105, whatever you can find. Shop around a bit, but for the guy who's leading the league in assists in playoffs, and he's got 6 in his last 5, I just like that price too much. I think just David in the chat was asking about Eichel under 3.5 shots, and that's not a bad bet. So I like that one too.
All right, there. That is an incredible price. You're looking at even money plus 100 to plus 105. Jack Eichel to get an assist, and he's been racking them up here in the Stanley Cup playoffs. 2 assists in each of the first 2 games. Jack Eichel plus 100, plus 105 to get an assist tonight for Kevin Beach with his best bet. And my best bet, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. First period over in each of the first 2 games, and right back to it tonight as well. Florida, Vegas, over 1.5, -120, first period. I think, once again, we get 2 goals in the opening 20 minutes of this game. So Golden Knights, Panthers over 1.5, -120 in the first period for my best bet. That'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. We're back Saturday, noon Eastern, Game 4 edition of the Ice Guys as we preview Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final. Reminder, the Ice Guys is live every Stanley Cup Final game day, and if you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. For the birthday boy, Alex B. Smith, Jimmy Murphy, and Kevin Beach, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll see you Saturday, noon Eastern, for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by National Hockey Now.